All right, so huge weekends, huge pro wrestling tonight here in South Florida. We have Royal Rumble. Last stop before Royal Rumble is tonight, Kaseya Center. Ticketmaster.com. You can get your tickets. We've had superstars on the show all week. Shotzi Blackheart joined us. Austin Theory joined us. And we got Jonathan Hood joining us now, who I've looked forward to talking to. ESPN Chicago, of course, up north. But Good Karma Wrestling on Thursday nights. Busted Open weekends on Sunday on SiriusXM Fight Nation. Joining us on the show now. Jonathan, thanks so much for hanging out with us. Royal Rumble, Saturday night. It's everyone's favorite event. What on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the most excited, what's the excitement level for this year's Royal Rumble?
For me, it's like an 8 or a 9, Jonathan. And the reason why is because it's so unpredictable, it's so wide open. I mean, it's exciting when you get Michael Cole saying, "This is my favorite event." He's never said that on a broadcast before. He's never said it. He says, "My favorite event." And for a lot of people, the Royal Rumble is like you and me and a lot of your listeners. They love it because it has that feeling of, hey, the Final Four. Who's going to be in that Final Four? Who's going to be the Final Two? Who's going to go to WrestleMania? WrestleMania is kind of like for everybody, kids, women, non-wrestling fans. So some people are not into WrestleMania as much, but the Royal Rumble means more to a lot of wrestling fans than WrestleMania. So I'm right up there because this is one of the more unpredictable Royal Rumbles that we've had in a long, long time.
How great is it, by the way? You mentioned there Michael Cole and Michael Cole mentioning that this is his favorite event. I was never a big Michael Cole fan. And now obviously it started a little bit when McAfee joined him. And I really think it gave Michael Cole almost a second wind. But it also now, over the last year plus, must have a lot to do with Vince not being in his ear all the time, because I've really thought over the last year and a half, 2 years, Michael Cole sounds like a different broadcaster, just doing a phenomenal job.
Yeah, he's doing his best work because he doesn't have Vince and Kevin Dunn just bearing down on him. We never even saw the real Michael Cole until now, Zaz. We really did not. And because it's always in your ear, say it like this, damn it, say it like this, that kind of thing. And he's just regurgitating what Vince was saying on the headset, what Kevin Dunn told him to do. There's certain events that we've seen over the years where there was no Vince producing, like overseas someplace, where it was Michael Cole just being able to just talk about professional wrestling. But those are so few and far in between. You know that you're unlikable for the first time in wrestling when the lead play-by-play guy is a heel. You remember this time, right?
Yeah.
Well, the guy you're supposed to trust, the guy that's supposed to be selling you tickets, pay-per-views, come watch our show, the lead guy. Imagine Gordon Soley being a heel. Imagine Jim Ross, and we saw this for a little bit, being a heel, but he was a color analyst at that time. He was playing a role. Imagine at a time where Michael Cole, the guy that's supposed to tell you, hey, come back next week, we'll tell you how excited it is, he was a heel. We've never seen that in wrestling before, only in the WWE. And so I think that you're replacing a legend in Jim Ross. People resented Michael Cole because of that. Like, where's Jim? We want good old JR because he had all those great moments for Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock and The Undertaker. Not saying that Cole did not, because Cole was on SmackDown, did a nice job, I thought. But when you replace a legend, you're going to get that, right? People had some resentment. And then I think that they fed into that. The WWE said, hey, you know what? You're not likable. You're kind of a heel. Cole didn't want to do that, but that's the role. And so I think that he's living his best life as a broadcaster now, that he can be able to say professional wrestling and talk about other organizations and talk about the indies. I mean, that resonates with you and I because it's real. And in WWE Fantasyland, whatever happens outside WWE, you don't talk about it. But as a broadcaster, as you well know, you talk about the history of everything. The history of the past married to the present. That's what wrestling's always been about, and it certainly is now in WWE with Cole being the kind of guy that he wants to be. He's probably always been a great wrestling fan, but he can never express it.
So Jonathan Hood's all-time favorite broadcast duo is who?
Wow. Okay, so for me, I really like Jim Ross and Jerry Lawler because those are two friends in the booth. Before that, it was Jim Ross and Michael Hayes in UWF. It was the same kind of dynamic because it's two friends going back and forth, babyface and heel announcer, and it was great. Third on that list is Gorilla Monsoon and Bobby the Brain Heenan. Two guys that really loved each other. They both were in the ring against one another at one point. I know that they were top wrestlers. Bobby actually could go. No one really knows this but Bobby actually could really go. Go back to
Yeah.
those Japanese tapes. That guy could actually wrestle. Hogan lies from time to time, as you well know. He can stretch the truth. He said, Bobby Heenan could have been world champion. Now, that might be a little bit of a stretch for some people, but he could work, he could talk, he could do broadcasting. So he was like that 5'2" player in professional wrestling, Bobby Heenan. But I think that for me, it's Jim Ross and Jerry Lawler because they rode in the car together, they went to the airport together, they ate together, and they had each other's rhythm. Jerry Lawler was a guy that didn't care about notes. He goes, "I'll just call it in the ring." Like he wasn't in meetings, and Jim Ross had to be all concerned with the machinations of the broadcast and going through the notes and stuff. So I just think that dynamic of Jerry saying, "Yeah, when the bell rings, I'll be ready. Don't worry about it," and Jim being over prepared, great combination.
Oh, Jerry told me once that he specifically told them he never wants to know the finish to matches, that he wants to be completely surprised while watching it, which is amazing when you think about it. Do you ever go back and watch old shows? And now, of course, WWE Network on Peacock and the color commentary, specifically Bobby Heenan, and a lot of times when Piper was doing color with Vince, some of the color commentary, the things that they used to say, holy shit, so questionable if you were to hear it on a broadcast in 2024. It's pretty wild what they used to get away with.
The 90s, when you can say things that it's syndicated, it's around all the local markets. You say, "Oh, I could just get away with it. We don't have to edit anything. Just say what you want to say." That's the way it was back then. And so it's just, to me, that's the reason why that you and I back in the day went to the arena, because the announcers would tell you how great the action was. Nothing was better than Jim Ross telling you how great the action was. He was over the top for a reason, for a purpose, to get you in the building, to get you to watch the pay-per-views. And so, I mean, that guy just the greatest. And now, when Jim is on and he's sharp doing color in AEW, it's pretty good because it's sound bites, but it makes you think when he speaks. When he's on, he's pretty sharp. Even at his age right now, Zaz, he actually, from time to time, will give you that glimpse of Jim Ross in the past, like, oh, no, it makes a good point there. So he's reinventing himself even at this age.
Your favorite Royal Rumble memory is what?
Ric Flair winning the championship in '92.
Isn't it everyone's? Like, that's everyone's favorite, right?
Well, I mean, a big spot, right? Big spot, big match. Yeah, absolutely. And here's why. The business was on its ass at that time. If you remember, I know a lot of people look back and say, "Oh, remember Shawn Michaels early? Remember the Ultimate Warrior?" Listen, you went from Hogan to the Ultimate Warrior. A lot of fans did not buy Warrior as champion. They just didn't. It wasn't on the same level as Hogan. It was just Hogan was way up here, and the Ultimate Warrior is trying to get there. But the kind of matches he didn't tell the story like Hogan would. You knew the story for Hogan. Hogan starts off hot. Hogan has to fight from underneath. Hogan starts to hulk up. Mm-hmm. Hogan gives you the leg drop. 1, 2, 3, cups the ear, wins the championship. 15, 17-minute match, right? The Warrior comes in, runs down the ramp, shakes the ropes. Okay, so now he's just going at guys. Andre the Giant and taking on Rick Rude and all these guys. And he's plowing through guys. Never told a story. It's like the Ultimate Warrior is out of control. Sometimes there was the opponent that had to tell Warrior, slow down a little bit, especially Andre. And then you saw Warrior retreat. But ultimately, he was a million miles an hour. He wasn't there to tell a story. And that's why he didn't get over as much as Hogan. So during this time, the WWF at the time is looking for something special, something new. Like, okay, well, Ric Flair is available. He's going to be leaving WCW. You know what? Let's put the title on Hogan. But put the title on Flair. He's the real world champion. And actually, that worked. For the time that he was champion, it was so different because there weren't heel champions, right, let alone the kind of style that Flair had. Nah. That's why, with a tear in my eye, what he says, right? And actually was crying because he wanted to get away from Jim Herd and WCW. Yeah, that was special. I mean, he lasted the entire the 60-minute man, right?
Yep.
Came through and won the championship.
And it was a tour de force performance from Heenan, who right when Flair comes out at number 3 or number 4, that's not fair to Flair. I mean, that was the commentary the entire match. That's not fair to Flair. It was an incredible performance from top to bottom by both of them. I love that one as well. And you're right. It was at a period where that's why I went to the one the year before that. I was 10 years old and it was Miami Arena. And Warrior lost the title to Slaughter. And it was such a shocker because at that point in WWF, there was no such thing as a heel champion. And Sergeant Slaughter wins the title from Ultimate Warrior. Like, that was crazy to me as a kid. It was shocking. I think this one this weekend is going to be amazing. Do you think, is there a scenario where Roman does not leave Royal Rumble champion?
Okay. So I thought that Roman would be in Perth, Australia against The Rock, because we kept reading that, right? Because Australia was trying to make this push for that match. You know, they have unlimited money. It would have been big for the country. And it looks like that's not going to happen. No, I think Roman does leave as champion. I think that he'll be fine. They're trying to push all their cards in the middle of the table for WrestleMania. That's what they're trying to do. And who knows if there's going to be a title change there, Zaz. I have no idea. I think that in the offices, they want Roman to surpass Hogan and get real past him as far as amount of days as champion, and then he'll never catch San Martino. No one's catching San Martino. I mean, you and I would be champion too if you wrestled in New York, Massachusetts, New Jersey, Philadelphia, and that's it. It's just like 4 or 5 states. That's how Bruno made his bones that way. I mean, he only wrestled in the Northeast. That's all he did. That's why he was champion so long.
Let me add something to that. While you're mentioning that, and there's criticism about Roman, they put Roman's days as champion next to Hogan's days as champion. And then you get the conversation about, well, Roman has only defended the title this many times throughout the year. Hogan defends it this many times. I know Hogan was doing house shows. He was doing 2 house shows a day. So he's defending the title all these many times. But was he really defending the title all those many times? There were only 4 pay-per-views a year, and Survivor Series was not usually a title match. So he's really only defended the title a handful of times when you add in Saturday night's main event. He was never going to lose the title at any house shows. So I feel like it's unfair comparing how many times Hogan was actually defending the title compared to Roman Reigns.
And either way, Hogan still had more championship matchups than Roman. If you just count the pay-per-views and the Saturday night's main events, it's still more than Roman. Mm-hmm. Is it not? I mean, it is. On those house shows, they'd say Hogan's defending the championship. Right. They say, but you know that there was never going to be a title change without cameras.
Right.
It just wasn't going to happen. I've said over the last years that my world champion in WWE is Seth Rollins. And you can give Reigns an asterisk and say this is the Universal Championship, whatever, that title reign. That's fine. But to me, the champion is Seth Rollins. Otherwise, why give him the championship? They put a championship on Seth Rollins because we in the wrestling media and the fans said, hey, man, can we get a champion that can defend the championship, get him on TV, talk about it, build up a championship, because they want to keep Roman special. I don't know if that's what Roman wanted or not, but that's what they decided to do. This is still under Vince, wanted to keep Roman special. Okay, great. My champion is Seth Rollins. That's what I consider. I consider the WWE Championship holder being Seth Rollins. Because this whole championship, when you make it universal, there was no universal championship. It was one in Puerto Rico with Carlos Colon, but there was no WWE Universal Champion. So all this seems like a whole different category. They're trying to make it seem like that this is the same championship as Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart and The Undertaker and Hogan and all that. But it didn't seem like that to me. I don't know if for you, but for me, I think that Seth Rollins being called WWE Champion sounds like everything we grew up with.
Yeah, I'm good with it. I'm also okay with, I'm especially good with it because I am okay with Roman not defending it all the time. I am okay with Roman being an attraction. And so since Roman's an attraction, I like the idea that we got another guy who has another world title. And it's a bummer, that like he's not going to be defending it on Saturday night. And he's probably not going to defend it before WrestleMania because he's going to be recovering from the MCL surgery. So, which leads me to, I was surprised. I thought he was going to drop the belt on Monday. I guess I was glad to see that he's not dropping the belt. He plans on defending it at WrestleMania. Do you have, who do you believe is going to win the Men's Royal Rumble? Who do you want to win the Men's Royal Rumble?
Okay, before we get there, Zaz, I thought, and this is what I said on the record, I said, oh, this will be like Flair 92, or a couple of times where the WWE has put the heavyweight championship on the line at Royal Rumble. Boy, could you imagine what people would think in 2024 that the heavyweight championship is being held up? Whoever wins the Royal Rumble wins the championship. Because to me, that makes a lot of sense. At WrestleMania, if it's Seth and Gunther, which I don't think it is, but if it's Seth and CM Punk, Punk's winning that championship because Seth's still not going to be healthy enough to hold on to that championship. So drop it now, drop it Saturday, drop it WrestleMania. He's going to drop it either way, right? He's still dropping the championship. I thought on the record for sure that he would say, I can't go, hand the championship over to the general manager, and then the title's up for grabs. And I thought that Cody would be in that Final Four. I thought that CM Punk would be in that Final Four. I thought that McIntyre would be in that Final Four. And I had like a fourth guy, but it's a kid from NXT that's been getting some time.
Carmelo Hayes?
Yes, Carmelo Hayes. Because I always think that there is an opportunity to showcase someone saying, hey, this guy was in the Final Four. He's going to be the future. Or this guy, look out for this guy this year. I thought as a wild card that they'd get Carmelo Hayes in there as the fourth guy. And he'd be the first one eliminated, of course. but it's just the idea that you're showcasing a guy. You put him fourth or fifth in the Rumble. Let him be able to go back and forth and say, look at this kid. He's still in there. I thought they would tell that story. And so because of the way the Royal Rumble is laid out, Zaz, I thought it would be CM Punk winning the Royal Rumble. It very well still could be, but that was my choice initially.
And who do you hope is going to win it then?
I mean, I love for Cody to be in there.
Okay.
I mean, I'd love for that.
Okay.
But we need to talk about history when it comes to Cody, Zaz. So I know that we as wrestling fans today are impatient because you want it now. People are still pissed that Cody did not finish the story at WrestleMania.
Yeah, I'm not like that, by the way. Like, I wasn't pissed then. It was shocking, and I like shocking, so I was great with Roman winning. And I'm totally okay with Cody not. Everyone's obsessed with him finishing his story right now. You know what? Like, he'll finish it when he finishes it. I'm good with it. Whatever. I don't care.
It's interesting because people were really mad that he didn't finish the story.
Oh, yeah.
But they got to realize, like, his dad was ultimately a chaser.
Yep.
He was a time NWA champion, but he had to chase Ric Flair all over the Carolinas to get it, though. Like the story was Rhodes, his dad, chasing Ric Flair, disqualification matches, and then Ric Flair beating Dusty Rhodes. But then when Dusty won the championship, throw babies in the air. Everyone's happy, right? It's like, oh, my God, he did it, right? The story was told when Dusty won the championship. But with this generation of wrestling fans, they want Cody to finish the story. There could be another scenario where Cody could be in that main event if Rock's not going to be there, that Cody can lose again.
Yeah.
And that is still not complete. Like, he's still trying to finish the story.
I'm good with it.
It won't be any skin on his nose, though. But here's the thing you can't fight. The internet wrestling community. Will they lose faith? I'm just telling you, like, that's a thing. That's a thing. Like, I think it's a small fraction of what WWE considers. Will they think, oh, man, then Cody will never finish the story. If he can't beat Roman, he'll never. Well, eventually he will be champion.
Yep.
My prediction also is he will be champion, and maybe shortly after, or maybe a year after, he goes back to AEW.
Wow. I haven't heard that yet. Wow.
Well, he's like his dad. He's impatient.
Okay.
You remember Dusty with the polka dots, right?
Yes.
He's got the polka dots. He's a common man. He doesn't have to bleed anymore. Doesn't have to cut himself. Just like, dancing with Sapphire.
Where my sweet Sapphire? Where's Sapphire?
He's moving around. He's doing all the house shows and everything else, right?
Yep.
But then after a while, after 3 years, he's like, is this all you got from me, Vince? Like, yeah, man. The kids love you. The dance and the common man. I'm going back to WCW. I'm going back because I'm not important, because I'm not in the front office. I'm not making moves.
Yeah.
Cody came there specifically to finish the story for a Rhodes to be the heavyweight champion of WWE. He will get that story. And I'm not sure that Cody's there for the long haul.
How about that? I have not heard that theory yet. That's a good job out of you there. What about the women? Who wins the women?
Man. Okay.
Because I could tell you, I'm hoping so bad for Bayley. God, I want it to be her time. I'm hoping for Bayley.
Here's what I need to understand. And I think that that's a good choice. I'm a little bit dismayed at the women's division in WWE. It's top heavy, but then there isn't enough middle and not enough growth in the bottom. Like, okay, so I think that Bayley's a great choice, with Charlotte out, it just makes it a little bit murky because Charlotte's not available. Because when Charlotte's there, you don't know if she's going to win the Royal Rumble. Will she win the championship against Rhea Ripley? Was that a match that we're going to see at WrestleMania again? I'm not sure. So Bayley winning the Rumble and Bayley turning babyface is what I expect between now and WrestleMania or after WrestleMania. That's what I expect. And so I think that's what I'm looking forward to. I'm also trying to figure out the right opponent for Rhea Ripley. Is that clear, Zaz? Like who the opponent
I think it's going to be Becky. I think that's the move.
Okay. I mean, I've seen the back and forth. The promos thing they did a couple weeks ago was fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to figure out, like, if Becky beats her, like, I mean, it's okay. It's not new and fresh to me.
Like it could have been Bianca, but they haven't hinted toward that yet.
No. Okay, so then the other thing I'm looking forward to in the Women's Rumble is, so do we get a face-to-face with Bianca and Jade Cargill?
See, I think the way they're going to introduce her, Jade Cargill is obviously going to be there Saturday night. I think the way that they introduce her is Nia Jax is in that ring throwing people out, and then Jade Cargill arrives. And that's how you get the crowd behind the new Jade Cargill, because everyone hates Nia. Jade Cargill comes in there and throws out Nia Jax. All of a sudden, you got a big-time babyface.
Yeah, I think it was interesting that she gets introduced, she gets shown around, pay-per-view, Raw, SmackDown, and then she just disappears.
I like it. I think they did a good job with that. I like that.
That's either they did that by design or the bell rang Lando, and they go, "Oh my God, who trained you?" I think
it could have been both.
Yes, that could. I mean, because they put her in front of us, like, oh, wait, she's the next thing. And usually, how that works in WWE is, hey, you know what? We're slowly doing the rollout, and you're going to person in the ring, and then nothing on social media, nothing. Everything goes dark, and I go, man, either they are doing a really slow play with her, or the bell rang and they said, "No, we gotta build you." We got to build you back up because the AEW style doesn't work for us.
I think it could be both, but I also think she's going to be a massive star. Just a huge, huge star.
Yeah. I think that, look at that poster, Bianca and like Jade Cargill, what that looks like. Holy smoke. What is that? I mean, that's amazing. And then on the other side with Io Sky. So is Io Sky in the Rumble? That's the question. Is she a part of it, or she doesn't need to be, right?
She must not be. She's the champion. Why does she even want to win it? I don't think so. I don't think you're gonna have either woman champion competing this Saturday night, which kind of stinks.
I guess I'm trying to. Well, even with that, even if she wasn't in the Rumble, I need to see her more often. Also, she's part of a faction, which is cool. Damage Control is cool because again, it's that mystery. What's going to happen to Bayley? Is she going to get pushed out? What happens there? It's a cool faction, but it kind of overshadows Io Sky, what she could do. Once she's in the ring, we talk about this on the fringes, Zaz, but you know what happens. You get in the ring, it's going to be a banger, whoever she faces. But I would just like to have her heated up a little bit more. Hey, she's a champion. Put her out there more often,
That's why I think it's got to be Bayley. That's what I think the story is. Bayley wins, there's Io's story. It's right there. That's why I think Bayley's going to win.
Yeah, so you think she was a transitional champion then, pretty much, Io?
Essentially. I think it's to get to a really big moment for Bayley, face turn, wins WrestleMania. Sasha's had the big WrestleMania. Charlotte's had the big WrestleMania. Becky's had the big WrestleMania. Bayley hasn't. And I think the crowd's ready to cheer for her again.
Yeah. I mean, she's done a good job. I thought at the time, okay, she's not a heel. She's not a heel. But I remember my rant about how this is like female Cena. And that, man, she could just, everything with merch and the kids love her and all this stuff. Why would you turn her heel? Why would you do that? Men love her, kids love her, women love her. Why would you make her? It's one of those things. It's the same thing with Becky Lynch at the time. Why would you turn her heel? Only to turn her babyface eventually anyway. I just think that was a miss by WWE, but I think that the story could be told by the time we get to WrestleMania or afterwards that, Bayley's back. The huggable Bayley that we remember, and she could be box office as a babyface, as I initially thought when she was in NXT.
This is going to be a great show. You're not coming down, right? You're not going Saturday nights?
No, we're sending Brian Rowitz down. We're sending him. He's right there in West Palm. Just make the trip over.
Yep.
I look forward to seeing it because it is a great event. As it's just, everything that's going on with the WWE right now is fascinating because it's under Triple H's leadership, and it's just like anything can happen. I know you remember this. Like I remember this, those takeovers from NXT. When you watched NXT, I always thought under Triple H and Shawn Michaels, I go, is anyone else watching this? Boy, this is a great wrestling show.
Right.
Call it territory wrestling with money.
Yeah.
Right. It's like the bright lights, everything else. And it was just about the ring. It's just about the wrestling. And then they had those takeovers, which was just amazing wrestling. And people were into it to the point where some people were saying, hey, these takeovers are better than the actual pay-per-view.
Totally.
All the time, right? Because the in-ring was so fascinating. The storytelling was great. So under Triple H, he's got so much on his plate. I think he's doing a really good job. He's doing a good job. And he's trying to kind of rebuild the stuff and trying to push the Vince stuff from the past and just try to bring his guys back. I love the boomerang effect of Vince cutting guys and then Triple H bringing them back. You can see the power shifting there. And I think it's fascinating for WWE fans.
I also love, and speaking of those takeovers, one of the great things about it was there'd be five matches, get me out of here in 2.5 hours. And WWE for a while was doing these 4-hour pay-per-views. They're too long. And now we're getting back to that, where right now there's, including the 2 Rumble matches, there's only 4 scheduled matches. Now they may add 1 more, but we're getting only 4 or 5 matches starting it. I love it. Get me in, get me out. Time to go home,
Yeah, I love that because you're engaged and the matches are longer. Remember who Triple H is as. Remember he comes from the Ric Flair school. He believes that the longer the match, the longer the story you could tell. Because think about Triple H's matches over the years. Remember any 10-minute matches? No. He would walk it and talk it and take his time. Just like his shows. You see like 2 and 3 segment matches on Raw, and you say, boy, that never happened in the past. It's because Triple H has it now. He makes the Ric Flair theory of take your time, unfurl a story, and be able to come to an ending. This is why this is working with the Bloodline, where we're still trying to figure out what the ending is with that. It's about storytelling. It's going back to the essence of the business of you taking your time, being able to tell a story in the match, get the drama built, and then people say, wow, I love that. I'd love to see that again. And that's just, we got away from that in the mid-90s to late 90s where everything was a 2 or 3 minute match. You just move on to the next thing because
it was Crash TV. I mean, Vince Russo said it was Crash TV.
Yeah, but it didn't have to be. But that was the era. And notice how we're back to where we are now. Long-term storytelling and great matches in the ring.
Yeah, it's what I grew up with. Excellent job. Jonathan, tell everybody how they can catch you, especially all your pro wrestling content. Go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. Busted Open is every Sunday, 9 a.m. Eastern. I work with Justin LaBar. It's just great wrestling podcast and also great radio show on Sirius XM, Fight Nation, Channel 156. Good Karma Wrestling. I've been doing wrestling content since the Monday Night Wars. And that was a great time because it was on Monday nights and, it was Nitro on one TV and Raw on the other TV and had to break it down for 2 hours. That was always fun. So I've been doing it since the late 90s. So I love it. And when I want to get away from his ass, you know what people say? Let's talk more wrestling. Bring it back in. They won't let you forget, right? The audience never lets you forget. So I also do Good Karma Wrestling as well. That's a YouTube show that we do. Good Karma Wrestling's every Thursday at 7 o'clock Eastern. We put it there because we just thought we'd get a big overflow of Impact Wrestling fans that would want to watch that. That work. There's no such thing as a big overflow of Impact Wrestling fans. Right. But we got it on at 7 o'clock Eastern anyway on Thursday. So it's a lot of fun. It's kind of a previewing SmackDown and everything else for the weekend of wrestling. So a lot of fun. And boy, 2024, what a year. Yeah. What a year already been. I hope, and I'll challenge you, ZASLOW. Mm-hmm. You have to be a filmmaker for this. You're going to make the 30 for 30 for wrestling in 2024. That's your job. I mean, look what we've had. Look where we are right now. Late January, on the precipice of the Royal Rumble, and we've had all these stories, all this free agency. So I need you to get yourself a camera and get yourself a crew, and I want you to document every bit of this shit for 12 months and then make a mint from this. You make the 30 for 30. Go ahead.
I mean, I think it's about the stars who are in new promotions. Like you got Punk back in WWE. You're going to have Ospreay in AEW real soon. Where's Kazuchika Okada going to land? I think the fact that you have these moving parts where it's like free agency in professional sports, but if I was turning on the Heat game on Saturday afternoon, the Heat are playing the Knicks, and the game's about to tip off, and right at tip-off, Giannis shows up in a Heat jersey. Oh my God, Giannis is signed with the Heat. That's unbelievable. Like, that's what it's like. What's going on in pro wrestling right now? Just out of nowhere, you get a new star on your favorite show.
Yeah, I just think that's great for wrestling fans too. And there's more free agency to come. Who knows where Drew McIntyre is going to be this spring? Man, there's a lot of stuff that's going on here, but it makes it a lot more fun. And NWA, they have a deal with CW Network. I mean, we're going to see wrestling on Netflix in 2025. Yeah. I mean, it is bananas, but it's fun for all of us because we can consume all this content and comment on all this content. And, it's about time. It's about time that wrestling gets to the forefront because it's huge right now.
Jonathan Hood, Good Karma Wrestling, busted open on Sundays, and of course, ESPN Chicago. Thanks a lot for hanging out with us today. It's going to be a great weekend. I appreciate you.
All right, Zaz. Thank you for having me.